what gun I've got, like I'm almost always dead in that fight. And also, I still only thought there was one. So open the door and I see the guy in the corner and like I spray him immediately and I'm thinking, oh, that's probably the guy healing. And then I know,
Did you get Rashala?
no. I took the 61 kilos and I got my ass out of I was like I was losing fucking stam just by walking because of my weight. It was, yeah, I wasn't hanging about.
Nice.
Like,
No, I felt that.
I came out with decent VPO, decent OPS SKS, an MPX, a Redux armor, an AVS at 53 out of 53, a Trooper armor, a Santa bag. It was quite rewarding for me. Not so much the cunts I killed. They had a slightly worse time during the whole affair. So.
If we happen to find a Ledexis raid, then I've literally just unlocked fucking private clinic.
Nice.
Grab more coffee. There, back.
Okay, Intel Center level 2, which means I can make some of the shit I need for that task. Haven't made a legs yet though. What I need for level 3, I need level 3 generator. Which takes a lot of shit I currently don't have. Ooh. Ah. Hmm. Right, I need a little more gold chains, some moonshine, some skulls, some lions. I can sell a lot of what's in the thing then. Yeah. Let's do a bit of a clean out of my WCF junk box. Nah, it's the end of making another one.
Which one basement? You gotta go on the west wing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They link, don't they? I've got to run through.
They don't link, no.
Oh, I thought it ran under the whole length of the building. This would explain why I can never find my way down to it properly.
I think you can get there from one side if I remember right. Tarkov, catch up to yourself, please.
Get yourself to me, Santa bro.
I actually find I can't run around the tree, which is quite nice.
Hello everybody, welcome back to
No
another
one around the
episode of
tree
Clash
at the
of Clans.
moment.
I, as always, am
What's
your
the night last
host,
raid either?
Simon. If you are enjoying this show and you're listening
Oh,
to
come
this
on, Tarkov.
podcast, leave us a
Fucking
review.
catch up with
You can't
yourself,
do that if you're on
please.
Spotify for, maybe in the future they'll introduce this, they bloody well should. If you're listening on Apple or whatever, please do leave us a review. Like this video if you're on YouTube, all of that good stuff. What happens
Gotta go down
here,
this way
Callum,
to the basement. Down
the
this
writer
way.
for this channel, has written me a script. It's like some 18 pages, Callum. These get longer and longer, and I love it. And I'm going to read it. Jen, afterwards, our wonderful video editor, audio editor person, is going to add some, well, make it more moodful.
Oh, just come through the jump over there.
All of that stuff,
Yep,
which
I'm gonna get him right here.
but I will in the future. And let's just jump into it, shall we?
He's dead.
September 1995.
Lol.
Everyone's favorite president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, has cancelled a trip overseas in order to
Got
tend
Vector too.
to a horrific situation unfolding
fat
at
boy.
home. Along with officials from the Department of Justice, he
They got
travels to
attitude,
Boksburg,
buddy.
just a few
He's
miles
doing the same
east of
quest we're doing.
Johannesburg,
The
to
scav
give a
vest.
press conference.
I
On
got
national
5 more to
television,
get.
He addresses the people of the cities and townships, asking for their help. in
Come on,
identifying
Tarkov, and share my
crimes that
shits.
have been plaguing the nation for over a year. The one dubbed the ABC Killer by the press. It's hardly the most intimidating nickname, chosen because the
Close that
serial
door.
killer's victims had been turning up in the vicinity of Atteridgeville, Boksburg, and Cleveland. Cleveland, South Africa, that is. Authorities didn't know at the time, but the killer had already claimed a
It's
staggering
not a hole, yeah.
31 victims. Oh
Nice.
boy.
It's just
we
that,
are
isn't it? Walk
in
up to it.
serious serial killer
Yeah.
territory. I mean, not that all serial killing isn't serious, but 31 is more than qualified. And would go on to kill at least 5 more. That figure could potentially be
I
as
think
high
these
as
are the lockers
72.
that
But in
the
either
lads were
case,
saying
by
to
the time
always
he was
check.
done, the ABC Killer would go down as South Africa's worst ever serial killer to date. This is the story of his sickening spree, troubled origin,
God
Yeah.
damn,
and first
Tarkov.
capture by Johannesburg's finest. Spoiler alert, apparently.
Da-da-da.
I mean, I guess. Oh, by
No
the way,
recce
not read
card.
this, if you're new here, you're wondering what's going on. I've never read this before. I am discovering all of this as you do as well. Obviously, with some of the other ones, like if we did a
I'm saying going back in the queue system, because Tarkov is just not fucking doing anything right now from it.
South Africa's bloodiest. Very new to me. A is for
You come back this way. You went
atrocities.
upstairs already.
Yeah, I can come back that way. I'm just
It was the
hitting
year
the
before
duffels.
Mandela's public plea that the bodies first started turning up in fields around the Johannesburg suburb of Cleveland. The first was discovered on July the 17th with 3 messages written on the corpse. She's a beach, sick. I am no fighting with you, please. Again, sick. We must stay here for as long as you don't understand. Is it not a little ironic that someone named the ABC Killer
Back on the stairwell where we killed that guy at.
spelling?
My way.
It seems like these scrawled messages were meant for the eyes of the police officers, an attempt to justify
Going
the
up to the
horrific
second
scene
floor.
in front of them. The woman
Mhm.
had been beaten, raped, and strangled to death.
Actually, I didn't
Before
bring any
leaving her where she
keys
lay,
or
the
anything. I
killer
don't know if you
draped
got
a piece
keys
of
or not.
clothing over her
Yeah,
face
I've
and
got a
weighed
few.
it down with rocks. She was later identified as
I
Maria
have
and then Manama. Over the next 6
East
months, 12 bodies
107,
were found around Cleveland, some
308
sources say
and
as many as
313,
15, all displaying the same
and
modus
West
operandi. All of the
112,
victims were
323,
female, young,
306,
black,
203, and
or
221.
they'd seemingly
We're in
all
West at the
remote
moment,
areas
aren't we?
around town where the murderer
Might as
would
well head
rape and
west up.
strangle them. Some were
Yeah, I'll
found
come and
blindfolded or
meet you
with
up at
weapons
221 in a
found.
second.
The murder weapon
Yeah,
was
I'm over here on
usually
the
the
corner,
victim's
just
own
looking down the
underwear.
hall.
In some cases, the families even received
There
phone
are
calls
far
from
more
the killer
duffels down
afterwards
here than I
who got a sick
anticipated.
pleasure out of taunting them. The South African police were unaccustomed to this kind of organized, methodical serial killer. Criminologist Rika Snyman explains that in the old days of apartheid, these kinds of killers could easily fly under the radar as long as they kept their crimes restricted to the predominantly black slums. This is occurring in 1995, so we are post-apartheid. But after the fall of apartheid, they began tracking cases and linking together murders, resulting in a wave of identifications. At a current total of 117, the country actually
Yeah,
has
someone
the
running
third
outside.
highest amount of serial killers
2.
in the entire world.
Coming in
Wow,
that same
you
way.
learn something new every day. Who's number 1 and 2? I gotta say, I mean, in my mind, just being on this, doing this show, I feel like
On
the
the stairs
United
right above you.
States,
Yep.
maybe Japan. I want to say Japan. I don't know why it's Japan. Like per capita, obviously. Countries with
They're like,
most serial killers. We rarely look up things live on this show, but I just got to know this. Oh, England? No, come on, England. Why? Yeah, per capita, England is number 2. United States, number 1. Wow. Oh, wait, this isn't per capita. But South Africa is number 3 at 117. Let me see if I can find a per capita. Okay, I can't
Upstairs.
find it easily. I want to get on with the show. But
You
on
made
the
it
page
up?
I'm looking at here, there's a giant American and Union
good?
Jack joined together. American flag and
Nope, I'm
Union
dead.
Jack joined together. So let's
Had a
assume
goddamn
that the
fuck
US
jam.
and the
I
UK
got
lead in
him.
the charts. Brilliant.
Fuck's sake.
Or is it with English-speaking
Stupid
countries?
jams. A
No,
brand new
duh.
fucking gun.
Serial killing.
I killed
The
one
arrest
of
of David Salepi.
I killed the first one I came through the door.
The cops would soon be adding another mark to that tally when the perpetrator of the Cleveland killings made a fatal mistake. Through interviewing
Where
the
are
victims' families, detectives
up
discovered
on
that
the
many
second
of the women
Yeah, I saw him
had
come into this
meetings
room
arranged
after
with a
killing
mysterious
him.
individual who claimed to have a job offer for them. This explains the formal clothing most were wearing. Thankfully, their mysterious recruiter accidentally revealed himself soon after. A young woman named Amanda Thate was the second victim of this South African strangler, found dead on August
yeah.
6th. The following December, a man was recorded by an ATM camera withdrawing money with a credit card. This was David Salep, a Johannesburg native now charged with the murder of the 26-year-old victim and a strong suspect in at least 5 other deaths in the area, potentially as many as 15. Investigators never got much of a chance to
Right,
quiz
I need
him
to
on
hide your
exactly
gun.
how many he was involved in, because the very next week, the front page headlines
I
read,
had on
"Suspect
Vector
in serial
Yeah,
in the
murders
primary
killed
slot,
by
yeah.
police."
Yep,
Here, the
one
cops
with
tell
the,
us,
50
while
round
on a
drum on it.
walkthrough of various
That's mine,
sites
sure.
involved
The
in the
other one's,
murders,
uh,
David
Neither
Salep
of them
grabbed
have
a
a
tree
50
branch
round
from the
drum.
ground and
Oh,
smacked
yeah,
a
so
detective to the floor. He was
with the
raising the
top
branch in the air to
Yeah, I was
strike him
gonna
again,
say,
and
I've just
another
hidden the
officer shot him
primary
in the
one.
head. He died in
The other one is,
hospital
all
that
his,
day. Yes.
bad at
Maybe it
two-bag is that
happened
guy
that
killed
way.
as well.
Also possible that it didn't. After that, the officer who delivered the kill shot was exonerated on the grounds of self-defense, while the other was reportedly treated for a bit of back pain. Another case closed. Good job, boys.
Your headphones
Yeah,
and stuff and helmet.
Again, that is
Yeah, that's all
definitely
mine.
sarcasm. It's again,
And
like,
armor.
police, stop being lazy. I feel like, I don't know, police generally, good guys out
Got
there.
that one. I'm just
I mean,
gonna
they
move.
obviously do some terrible things, but it's generally a minority. And it's like, what is going on? Why are you so lazy, though? Please find the people who are killing. Don't just be like, yeah, it was him. Done. Game over. But if the ABC killer at this point, just the C killer, was really 6 feet under now, then why didn't the bodies stop piling up? Well, I'll tell you what, Callum. Probably because it wasn't him. The next 6 months saw the death after death in and around the town of Outer Ridgeville, Pretoria, about 40 miles north of Joburg. The Pretoria murder and robbery team established a task force to investigate the crimes. Their first task was to
Right,
establish
let's hope that I don't
a
get
definite
killed
link
walking back to
between each
your body with no
murder.
armor.
What they discovered was that all of them displayed the exact same methodology as the Cleveland murders, meaning the police down here had
killed
either
that dude on
gotten the
the
wrong
first floor,
guy
the first one
or
that
he
came
wasn't
through.
working alone. Even worse was the fact that the killer's methods were becoming increasingly sadistic. On April the
Really
12th,
sick.
1995,
Yeah,
25-year-old
he
Letta
definitely.
Nomthanzado.
'Cause I had two
Oh
kills
my,
already
I
on there, so-
apologize for
I saw
for
him drop,
getting,
so.
this is difficult.
In fact, I pushed
Mandler,
over his body.
was discovered dead on the outskirts of town, the 4th victim that year. It's interesting with this. I mean, not interesting, natural, normal, expected, that when I'm like, there's a killer and it's got a really hard name
You
to
can't have
pronounce,
two
I'm like,
better
oh,
twos in
whatever,
your
who cares,
inventory
he's
at
a
the same
horrible
time.
murderer. But when it's a victim,
Well, that
I'm like,
sucks.
I feel it would be more respectful to pronounce the name, but there's no way that that name is going to be in my pronunciation dictionary. So I do my best, but I
Bottom
don't
boy
obviously-
was a level
obviously don't mean any
16 with a
disrespect. The
tricep
very next day, the body of her infant son.
and an M4.
Why?
Sorry, buddy.
Sabu Siso was discovered nearby. Apparently, he had sustained a head
And
injury.
someone else's
Like his
burqa in
grandfather
his
was
bag.
taken by the killer
Interesting.
and died of exposure. 2 years old, he was the killer's youngest victim. This triggered a wave of interest from the South African press, who were usually preoccupied with stories of crimes against the affluent white community rather than the invisible residents of the black townships. It was then that the phantom of the ABC killer first started to enter the popular imagination, a short-lived burst of media coverage which fizzled out within a few weeks. It would be a few more months yet before panic fully gripped the country. This was when the killer finally earns the B in his nickname with a horrifying discovery in Boksburg that sent the country into full.
Right, your
blown
stuff's still hidden. I'm just on my way
B
to
is for the Boksburg bodies.
Patta Lighthouse now.
On September the 16th, 1995, an off-duty police officer was out in the scrubland around Boxburg hunting rabbits with his dog. Suddenly, the dog caught a scent of something and ran off the trail with his master in tow. It wasn't a rabbit that it found. The dog led the officer to a woman's body, brutally beaten and abandoned near the entrance to one of the mine shafts, which are scattered around the area. When forensic investigators arrived at the scene, they
chucked your
soon
drum mag
discovered
on the ground
there wasn't just
outside
one
as well.
victim. They were
It's not
standing
mine,
on
that was
top of
his.
a mass
The guy
grave.
killed.
10 bodies were exhumed at
Ah.
the site, some severely
take it
decomposed,
off.
in an operation
He's
which
gone
lasted
now.
2 days.
I threw it
They
off the
thought that
cliff.
the killer might have
Oh.
taunted his newest victims by
Alright.
showing off the
Well, he'll get
bodies
it back at
before
least.
subjecting
He
them
won't
to
get
the
his gun
exact
back,
same
though.
fate. That is all
That's in my
kinds
bag.
of f***ed up.
It's gonna be like,
The
what
link
fuck
between the
these guys not
victims
protect
and
drugs?
those found in Atta Ridgeville was quickly established, and the police revealed to the
In
press
fact,
that
a
they
whole
were
lot of
potentially
people will be
dealing with
getting
the
a whole
worst
lot of
recorded
gear
serial
back from this
killer in the
raid.
history of South Africa. The event got
Unless
the attention of
Scavs
the
come
people,
through and get those
especially when
bodies,
Nelson
'cause I've left
Mandela
them
himself
geared up.
visited the scene of the crime. He
But
then gave
I've
the
left
speech
contacts,
which
helmets,
began
things like
today's
that I
episode.
can't
The
take.
residents of South Africa's poor black communities were understandably skeptical about trusting the police on account of the whole racial subjugation thing. So the president urged them to aid the authorities in capturing the killer that was terrorizing their towns, saying, "They are not the enemy anymore. They need our support." Some members of the public had already come forward with their suspicions. On July the 17th, a man named Absalom Sangweni spotted a couple trespassing
those,
in a
weapons
field in
malfunctions,
North
man.
Boxburg.
I
and
know.
warned them that it was off
Do you
limits.
get
The
one
man,
right in the
however,
middle
just
of your
ignored his
combat
shots
then,
and kept
did you?
going. Within an hour,
Yeah,
the
right
man
about when
returned
I was
alone.
about to-
He
'cause
stuffed
you
a
ran out of
shiny
ammo,
object
so you
into
need a
his
shotgun.
trouser pockets and
Yeah, I
looked
went
around
quick,
nervously
quick,
before
and
taking
missed.
off. Sangweni was suspicious
Failure
about
to
the
fucking
fate of the
fucking-
young woman, so
So I
he
was
took to the
yeah.
field to
He
investigate,
reloaded and shot
finding
me
the
one last
strangled
time,
body
killed me.
of Josephine
I
Malangeni.
literally just got up to
Unfortunately,
the
her
top
killer
of the
was too
stairs
far
as he
away
finished
for
you off. I
Sangweni
was
to
like, fuck.
offer up any concrete details.
Right, so why is Path to
The
Lighthouse
Mindhunter
not
takes
here?
on South Africa.
It should be in
Is
the
that
That was
way?
as close
top
as the police
left
would come to
of
a
the map.
positive ID on
Yeah,
the
I thought
suspect
that
for
too.
many
like
months.
directly out
With the
above tunnel.
added pressure of intense media attention, they scrambled to produce
think
a
I'm just
psychological profile of
Not
the
where I
killer,
think I am.
so they might
Yeah.
predict his next move. South Africa's very first criminal
Basically where that
profiler,
invisible, it
Nikki
starts
Pistorius,
almost
took
where
the
that
lead.
invisible
She
wall
drafted
is,
up an image
basically.
of a man in his late 20s
Yeah,
or
I'm
early
on
30s, black on account of the witness testimony and the fact that he
The
could
white
move
wall on the
unnoticed in
east, and I
predominantly
can't
black areas
figure out whether
that
I
he
need to
hunted
go
in.
north
Share
or
your
He was
screen.
south.
likely somewhat
Share your screen.
handsome and charming enough to win the trust of his victims.
Have a rough
Despite
idea
all
where it
that,
is.
he quite
Yeah.
obviously hated women. I mean, also,
I don't
in
know
my
why I can't
mind,
figure it out. I've been in
like,
this
serial
area. I
killers are
think
mostly
abandoned
white,
villages
right?
down there.
like,
I just keep
I d-
following the
And
walls here to the left.
drone is
Cover
here somewhere.
famous
Yeah,
ones.
so
mostly.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
this will
but-
take me
white,
down to
middle-aged
tunnel
dudes.
anyway, so
I mean,
Aye,
we
but it's
know
before
some
tunnel. If you
11
just follow the white wall,
killers
it's
who
before
are
tunnel.
but
So
that's
you'll
a
hit it
rarity.
before you hit tunnel.
Pistorius also reckons
Okay.
her mark
Like the white wall
could
should
be
end at
divorced
some
or
point,
separated
and then
from
you go
spouse
right
and
from
enjoyed
where it ends,
visiting
and that you
enjoyed
should be in the
visiting
right place
bars,
then.
Possibly had past
Are you
convictions for
watching
theft
it,
or
Kate?
fraud and enjoyed
yeah,
collecting
if you follow
mementos
that.
from
Wanna
his
just
victims. She also reckoned that the
quickly
killer had,
check
quote,
I've not picked up
a
any
high
of your
sex
gear.
drive and reads
No,
pornography.
you're good.
People
Cool.
read pornography. I mean, I guess there's like text pornography, but okay. His fantasies to which he masturbates are aggressive, and he believes that women are merely objects to be abused. He enjoys charming and controlling women. When he approaches a victim, it is done in a very calculating way, and he is very conscious that he is eventually going to kill the victim and savors the thought.
now I know where I am. Thanks, boys.
Yes, she just called him a wanker. That all sounds very specific. I
I think
reckon you'll be blown away.
It's
with
because I
just
just
how
never come
spot
to this
on
corner
it
of the map.
mostly turned out to be. It is interesting with these criminal profiles where they're like da 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 da, and you're like, that is just so specific.
Hey, Slam.
And I mean, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they're. I feel most
Hello.
often they're right. But it almost feels like witchcraft, doesn't it? Pistorius was still a
There you go.
relative rookie at profiling in those days, so she called in help from the States in the form of retired
Oh, yeah,
FBI
no, we
veteran
had to regain
Robert
the
Ressler,
fucking
who was
launch.
the inspiration for one of the leads in the TV
Oh,
show
is there a queue
Mindhunter,
again?
the first
Oh,
person
God,
to
yes.
coin the term serial killer. And look,
Hey.
if you're listening to this show or watching this show,
Well,
you've
mine
probably
said
seen
been saying
Mindhunter,
preparing the game,
and if you
even though it's
haven't,
popped me in
you
server
should.
for the last
It's
minute.
really
So
good. And I can't wait for the second. Are we on second or third? Something's coming. I feel like it must be coming soon. Although COVID has slowed down everything. But I'm looking forward to the new season if that's 2 or 3, I don't remember. Flying to South Africa 4? Can't possibly be 4. Doesn't matter. Flying to South Africa for a week-long consultation in September, he gave a seal of approval to Pistorius' work, agreeing that the cases in all 3 communities were related. Together, the two also predicted that the killer would eventually contact the media based on his previous attempt to communicate with the police through his grisly graffiti. He also upheld the suspicion that the killer may not have been working alone and may have even been a direct accomplice of David Salepi. Again, Salepi was not available for questioning on the matter on account of being shot in the head by a trigger-happy copper. Still though, the crimes which were pinned on him before his death would eventually establish a definitive link to the man the police were still hunting. C is for capture. We're not close to halfway through. Is he going to get caught already? After exhuming all the bodies from the grave near the Van Dyke mine in Boksburg, the police set about discovering the identities of each of them. Some would remain forever unknown, but most could be traced to missing persons cases from the past few months. One was 45-year-old Emilia Rapadal, who disappeared on the 7th of September. A while after her husband received the devastating news, he began sorting through his deceased wife's belongings. Among them, Mr. Rapadal found an envelope with the world's Child Protection Community Organization written on the front. On the back was an address in Pretoria, apparently the headquarters of the charity, and a date and a time written underneath. The exact date of Emilia's disappearance. He peeled open the envelope to find a job application suggesting that Emilia had landed a position with the company, an offer, of course, which never existed. The police
fuck
knew
you,
these job
Harko.
offers were a recurring feature of a con already used to draw dozens of women to their deaths. Back in July, taxi driver Jimmy LePule reported that his wife Mildred had an interview scheduled with a Dr. Williams on the day she disappeared. She left the door that day, ecstatic about the prospect of landing a desk job at the doctor's charity. Jimmy would next see his wife 3 weeks later, when he was called to identify her body at the morgue. It seems that now the police finally had an address for the mysterious employer, but when they looked into the charity Emilia was applying for, they found it wasn't registered. I mean, I appreciate they looked into it, but what were they really expecting to find? Of course it's fake. It's a fake address. You're just going to meet them there and take them somewhere else. However, some further digging into the fake organization turned up a few potential suspects, one of whom looked very likely indeed. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I jumped the gun on that one. A mysterious phone call. The trail was heating up nicely, and things got going with a sensational development on the 3rd of October 1995. On that day, one of the most particular prophecies of the psych profilers came true. The ABC killer contacted the press. Just hours after the latest body had been found, that of 20-year-old Agnes Mabuli, the office of Cape Town-based newspaper The Star received a phone call. Journalist Hasman Beer answered the phone, and the caller identified
It's done
himself
this a couple of
as
times.
Joseph
Eventually,
Magwina,
it'll
the
decide
man
to.
who is so
Yeah,
highly
move.
wanted.
Mine's
During the
technically
interview
in the
following,
game, but
Mr.
it's like
Magwina told
got
of
just
how
a
he once
background
saw
and a wee
some
loading wheel in the
crime
bottom
he
right.
didn't commit, and the killings were his way of getting revenge. for
No,
the
it's a
torment
party
he
in a
endured
certain. It
behind
was sent
bars.
per game for like
You're
2 minutes
insane.
straight,
Like,
and then
what
fucking
does
crashed
killing
out.
people, unrelated people, have anything to do with your time behind bars? You're not getting back at the justice system with this one. You're just getting back at random strangers who did nothing to you. You psycho. He said, I force a woman to go where I want,
Is this
and when
just
I
to
go
do with
there, I
drops
tell
and
them,
people
do you know
jumping
what?
on that,
I
or
was hurt,
is this also
so I'm
in
doing
general
it
just at
now.
the minute?
Should
Then I
well,
killed.
it should only
When
be
quizzed on how
general,
many victims
but
he had murdered in this
like
way,
the
he
drop shouldn't
reported the
affect
number
this
of
shit. It should be going
76,
through a different
meaning
server,
that
but
dead
it's
bodies still
BSG,
count.
so
Before hanging up, he provided directions for
fuck
one of
knows.
them, as yet undiscovered by the police.
Yeah,
These
I
turned
think
out
so,
to
yeah.
be completely accurate.
'cause I've been
Well,
stuck in
that
the
is a good way of
screen to
proving
go
that
back
you
to
are
the
not a prank caller, serial
main
killer.
menu.
Although Magwina boasted a huge number
Yeah,
of
hold that for
victims, there was one crime he adamantly denied. This was the case of 2-year-old
You make it out,
Sibasisu
though?
and his mother,
Okay.
Letta. The murderer said he loved children
Yeah.
and would never do anything to harm one. When De Beer asked if there was a number he could reach the killer on in the future, and Magwina gladly gave him one, it was registered to a
Oh,
payphone in Pretoria,
raid
but by the
music
time the
just
police
ended
rushed
at
there, the
least.
murderer was long gone. It was a
Yep,
devastating
and there
moment,
goes the raid
especially since the
success.
cops were pretty certain they had already cracked the real identity of
Days.
Mr. Magwina. In the days leading up to that call, investigators had continued to gather details about the charity organization used to lure in the victims with
Gosh,
promise
they're
of
having
work.
real
They
troubles
began
with
looking
this,
through
aren't they?
phone records for any
Mhm.
recurring numbers and eventually found one which had been contacted by several
Lots of things
victims.
going on
They
at the
asked the
moment,
phone company who the
which
number was
bringing in
registered
extra
to, and
users.
got the name of a woman in Pretoria. When quizzed about the so-called Child Protection
That
Community
and
Organization, she
that-
pointed the cops in the direction of her brother.
That, to be fair, it's
Siva,
possibly like
community campaigner
one
for a
of the
similar
biggest updates they've
organisation,
actually
and day
done.
labourer who was
So,
known for
New
returning
map, new
vulnerable
mechanics,
children
new
to their
items,
parents.
a lot of new
So he
shit in this
sounds like a
update.
lovely bloke. He does.
Yeah, but
he
this,
does.
the shit hasn't-
Unless he's a horrible serial killer.
These
But
problems
just
with
a
the
quick
servers we've been
glance
having
into
haven't
Sitol's
until they
past
did the drops
revealed
of
that he was in fact
Mm.
quite a likely candidate for South Africa's most wanted. For one, he had a direct
last week was
connection to
fine,
the
like,
second
we-
victim in the
we didn't really
Cleveland
have any
killings,
issues
Amanda
all that
Thief.
much
She and
last week.
Sitol
Yeah,
were
that's
actually
true.
been romantically
Relatively
involved once
stable.
she
But I
was
think
killed.
whatever-
An affair while
whatever they
his new wife
changed in the
Saturday
drop
pregnant
event,
with their
like,
first.
you know, fucks something up, and it's just, I don't know.
Broke something.
Fuck knows with Tarkov. As good as this
Yes.
game is, BSG's ability to handle the fucking back end of this game is not the worst I've ever seen, but it definitely could do with some improvement.
See, I just think that, especially when it comes to something like drops, this thing, it doesn't make any difference to me. There's maybe some people out there that go mad about it, but I think if they didn't have it, it might just be fine. We've got a new map, we've got inertia, we've got lots of things to keep us going.
Yeah, but the drops aren't for you. They're for new players to try and bring them
Yeah,
in, basically so that
'Cause-
Tarkov gets discovered on Twitch.
because they always
'Cause it's
put.
the only way they mark it, remember?
Yeah, because if you notice, every time there's a just before wipe, about a week before the wipe kicks in, seal. Every time.
Surely there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. It's just for whatever reason they seem to think this is the best way, but it's not because it fucks the servers, which I can't imagine is a good new player experience. It's fine for those who's been playing for a while. I know what to expect at wipe time, but for a new player, this is not a good first impression.
No,
Yeah, I
but
think you're right.
There's no way that someone at BSG has consciously made the decision for this to happen. I mean, preparing for high load in IT environments is literally one of the hardest problems to do because
No, I know that.
there's-
I know that, but like this is eight big wipes they've had now, and
every
what's-
time.
Yes.
Yeah,
you know, like this is definitely the worst it's been, and like I do know, I like appreciate from my brother just coding and shit that like even he said to me, you know, like when you have massive amounts of people, there's like you can test bed the shit as much as you want, but when you actually put it out to people and then numbers come in for real,
Oh yeah, everything
mm,
changes. in that window.
that's not, you know, you can test it as much in house you want, but when it comes to actually be going live, it's never that simple.
No, it's not.
But it's just like 8 fucking wipes, guys. Seriously, you think you should be a wee bit better at this point. I wonder those that have something to do with the fact they switched to Unity 19 or something, though.
So the post from Nikita on the subreddit the other day said that it's to do with that and not drops. He reckons it's because of extra load and compute power required by all that crap.
Yeah.
It's just weirdly timed with the drops.
Because to be fair, it's not like they've had time to really optimize Unity 19 before the wipe, because that all came in at the same time.
Give me private clinic, woman. Right. I need a LEDX.
Yeah, I just end up making mine.
What's the quest before private clinic?
Hmm?
What quest do you have to do before you get private clinic again?
You need to hit level 35.
Oh, 35. So I definitely got a lot of time to prepare. Wait, I want those CMF-B whatever transmitters.
The CODFM.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I end up
Okay.
crafting them.
What is it intelligence level 3?
Level 2, I think.
Yeah, level 2. You can't craft anything
Right.
from level 1.
It does mean getting
But for
everything up to level 3.
yeah, there is some stuff locked behind the level 3 craft intelligence, but I can't remember what. I think there's 1 or 2 things you need for tasks, but I'm not 100%
Right,
sure.
so
Oh,
I
what do you
need to be level 3 med to craft a LEDX, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you need a
Uh,
LEDX to make that level 3.
Fuck you, game. Although I could buy that off the...
Yeah, you could just buy it. It doesn't need to be found raid.
Doesn't the Christmas tree have a LEDX?
Yeah,
I think
but it's not worth it.
ridiculous, though.
It's not worth it.
60 white balls.
I've been telling everyone like, what do you want? What I'm doing with my Christmas tree, I think is probably the base spend on it, which is save the purple and white for the weapons case. And then use your red to make Vector 45s.
All I need to do is find 24 white baubles.
What?
I'm gonna have to start mugging people for their baubles.
Nothing around the hideouts, just stealing them off a tree.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, by the time you get that done, though, you could just craft it. That's why I'm just gonna craft mine, because it just doesn't seem worth it to me.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a while until I hit level 3. Med station.
What do you what's the things you need to craft the COM whatever it is?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Or I can check after. I have a level 2 intelligence now, so.
We need to go in and get that key for you, don't we?
Yeah, I can't even get back in the game right now.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's proper broken.
Yeah, it took me like 4 attempts just to get into a fucking round.
Yeah, it just keeps telling me can't
Error.
escape the server.
Enough.
Yeah, it's pretty busted.
The irony is, like, whilst Unity 19 will almost certainly make the game run better, like that's like it's almost advertising things for it is because it will make the game run better. This is quite funny that it's also a thing that because they haven't got it like optimized and stuff properly yet for it, that it's this thing that's fucking the game.
It's been a lot for them all at once.
Yeah, oh, it's a massive update. Like the only thing, I think the only update they've done before that maybe is in line with this size wise, and even it's not even hitting it, is the reserve update when they add that map. I guess probably the closest and comparable size to this update. I wonder if the airdrop's gonna be like a permanent thing though, or is that just the season? Because I know they're apparently meant to come in with streets, but then streets is also meant to come in this update. So.
I said it was gonna be permanent.
Hmm.
They said it's gonna be permanent,
Nice.
I don't know if we need them.
but they're just gonna. I think they're gonna tone them down where, and I've already noticed they tone them down where it's not every raid that they're coming in.
Yeah. I like it. I think it's a good. I don't think it needs it, but I do think it's a good idea. And I do think it's something they should keep. As far as how much they should drop, though, that's a tricky one because like it's a good way to like get people to move around the map and get fights happening in different places. But I do think they need to be careful about like how often they drop them in relation to how much loot's on the map already. You know, I think there should be enough loot that people don't feel like they have to go for it to have gear to run, but also be good enough that like still something kind of appealing because it's like probably a little bit better than you'll get from most of the looting. Oh,
I think the only good thing about it is it's loud enough, as something that size would be,
yeah.
that you can do other things with the sound being masked. But after that, I'm not so sure about giving people extra.
I think it's good. I think they need to be very careful with the numbers on it. Funny enough, though, you say about it masking the sound good, because that's exactly what I've been using them for. To sneak up on people. I haven't actually been going for the drops, I've just waited until the plane goes. It's like, yeah, I can start moving aggressive now, and no one can fucking hear me. Yeah, that's how I creeped up in the 2-man yesterday. The drop was coming over, so I went from full creep to just normal walk speed, but crouched. So like I got them much quicker than I normally would. I just absolutely decimated them because I had no clue it was coming.
Are they good, like?
Like even with ears, like even with good ears in this game, you're deaf when that thing goes over top. If you've an Alton on, oh dear Christ.
It's like being inside a pot, I suppose.
Well, like you can hear fuck all out the Alton to begin with. At least with the ears when the airdrop comes over. If they're really close and you're really paying attention, you might hear like a little bit of noise. But if you had an Alton on or a Masca, then now you've went from like absolute minimal hearing to outright none. Which is yet another reason why I will never get why people say Altons are good. Like I know they're not bad. I don't like what their advantages are, but I've always felt like the advantage they give you is way less than that of some ears, and ears are like a fifth of the price. Helmets are a good idea, but Alton no. Although I still hold that if you're in a position where you actually need an Alton, something's went really, really badly fucking wrong. That's gas kicking off. Sniper scav's not up. Good, good, good.
What the hell is this Battle State game stream?
Don't know.
I think Battle State devs are streaming right now.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know they do a lot, so.
And I can't understand one word they're saying. It's all in Russian.
Yeah.
So,
Same with all their updates and stuff. When it's an update written on thing, though, it's not so bad because you can Google Translate it, but.
so more drops. Yeah.
Someone's hit here.
This guy's streaming, like, in front of a green screen, but what's the point of that when he's not using it?
It's probably just like an all-purpose thing they've got set up.
It's hiding the servers on fire behind it.
Is that smoke? No, it's CGI. It's CGI. We promise. We promise.
Literally some guy running in there with a fire extinguisher.
Are your servers stable? Absolutely. And then just like the CGI background fades, and you just see some guy beside it just kicking the side of it. Just like work, fucker, work. Yes, servers work fine. Why are you kicking them? Servers work
More
fine.
PMC kills on Shoreline.
You got 2 more to get. I think that's the balaclava for Punisher, aye?
Yeah. Punisher Part 4. I'm a fair bit through the tasks now.
I've got like a few doing a little bit maps, and I got a load in reserve. I got 1 or 2 left in Shoreline. Don't think I've got anything left in Woods, other than Tarkov Shooter Parts 7 or 8 or something, which is kill 3 PMCs with a bolt action in 1 raid.
Ooh.
But you can use a thermal for it, so that'll make shit a bit simpler.
What's Lend-Lease Part 2? Oh, that one. Okay.
Is that the one with the vase and shit?
No, it's the one that AK was talking about, the craft, the signal transmitters and processors.
I think I'm on that now.
I think that's the not Kappa one anyway.
I got enough loot to be happy. Didn't run into any fights, but I got enough loot to be happy. Oh, well, parts again. Shit. Get rid of you, take you.
I need to go visit the Christmas tree on Lighthouse as well.
Yeah, oh, where do I have to get out of the map?
Oh, you guys are playing right now?
Hell.
Damn.
I'm sort of hovering around my menu,
Uh,
not really doing much because I know that if I do, the game will crash out, and then I'll be stuck in the queue.
it's crashed me
Yeah.
a few times already.
I can't even get the queue for some reason. It's just saying.
That before I just had to restart the game. I've already like crashed out and back in about 5. I would crash about 3 or 4 times just trying to get into 1 raid so far. Please, that Rochelle. No, it's not Rochelle. Okay.
We're on a scav. It's a reasonably safe thing to do.
Okay, let's drop something here real quick so I can Repack my mag. I need to get a bit more smaller saves, and that way I can check if the car is there and use it as an extract for even more scav karma.
You back at 0 yet, Irish?
Oh no, I'm 1.28 now. 1.28, 1.68 something. Yes, I recovered after killing Santa, that fat
Time
prick.
to bump into Santa again.
Don't. My luck, I fucking probably will too, the cunt.
They need to put bells on him or something so you know he's hanging about.
To be fair, I think they did change the spawns a little so he doesn't like turn up in like dark corners as much now. Still does sometimes, but I know when they literally like when they put him in at the very start of the whole season festive shit, pretty much exclusively he was being found in like random ass corners. A lot of spots he was turning up in, and this was the big complaint people had, was spots that people hide in shit. So like they were like free muscle memory to shoot the moment they went around certain corners and stuff. So they're like they were really annoyed with that. Which I get it. Like if you're if that's 9 times out of 10, if that's an enemy, then that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to shoot first and think about it after. Where's the fucking coats? Is this the door with the coats? I think it's the second floor.
Oh yeah, I just got the queue. I had to like fully restart the game.
Yeah, same here.
I'm at 18,000. I wonder what like what's the like total amount of people playing this right now?
I know some people have ended up in like 70,000 positions, stuff like that there. Like
So what's
crazy.
70,000 times the price of the game?
I know some people have had like ridiculous fucking positions in queue.
All I can say is they're rich.
Is the QR there? Is the QR? Yep, lovely jubbly. This safe should be enough rubles for me to use it. I forgot to bring in rubles. Oh, red ornament, thank you. Fuck. Put you there, you there, you there. God damn, I can buy more of you, so let's just grab you. I don't think I have enough rubles for this. I might do. Let's find out. No, I don't. Okay. Looks like I'm taking the long way.
child. If you cast your mind back, you remember that it was Theet's credit card that led the authorities to the very first break in the case, the arrest and untimely death of David Selepe, which seems like a pretty convincing connection between the two suspects. It does! On top of that, 31-year-old Sitol was already a convicted rapist, having spent 6 years in prison for an assault back in 1989. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, he really did sound like a nice guy given his work and all this stuff. No, he spent 6 years in the joint for rape. Yeah, not a good dude. Not a good dude. You'll notice that his biography matched up perfectly to the details given by the mysterious caller who confessed his crimes to the newspaper. The stars were aligning for the detectives, who were certain they'd finally got their man. There was just one problem, though. Sitol was nowhere to be found. His wife had kicked him out back in December 1994 and had been sleeping on the streets ever since. With no idea where they might find him, the police decided to release an image of their prime suspect to the press. In early October, his face was plastered over the front pages, along with a warning from Police Commissioner George Fibes discouraging mob justice should the suspect be caught by any would-be vigilantes. Anyone who spotted Sitol should follow the standard legal procedure, hand him over to the police to be shot in the head away from prying eyes. Savage. Don't bring a hatchet to a gunfight. Unfortunately, Moses Sitol managed to avoid being spotted long enough to claim another 3 victims in the areas around Boxburg the very next week after his face was revealed: Agnes Mabuli, Beauty Ndabeni, and an unidentified Jane Doe. Even though he could still kill freely, Sitol must have really felt the pressure piling on. After all, the aforementioned risk of mob justice was no joke. South Africa is the home of a particularly brutal kind of lynching called necklacing. I've heard of this. It's the one with the tires, I think. It consists of filling a rubber tire with petrol, forcing it over a victim's arms and chests, and then lighting it on fire. That doesn't sound particularly appealing, so perhaps to protect himself from such a fate, Sitol contacted his brother-in-law in mid-October and asked him if he could get a hold of a gun. He agreed and arranged a meeting at the factory where he worked in Benoni, just north of Boxburg. But the brother-in-law had already disowned the ABC killer at this point, much like everyone else who knew him. He went to the police and helped organize an operation to snare Sitol when he arrived to pick up the weapon. Yeah, dude, I mean, if I was just living my normal life, and then it turns out that I was a horrific serial killer, and then I was like, oh my god, I would fully expect my family to turn me in. I'd be quite disappointed if they didn't, to be honest, because you're a horrific serial killer. Inspector Francis Mulavedzi was sent to the factory undercover, posing as a security guard without the knowledge of any of the regular employees. On October 18th, Sitol arrived at the arranged time and was invited inside to wait by the undercover cop on account of the rain. Sitol refused. He sensed something wasn't quite right. When Inspector Mulavedzi stepped inside, saying he was going to fetch the brother-in-law, the ABC killer made a break for it. The detective pursued him, firing 2 warning shots into the air as he ran. Eventually, he cornered Sitol in an alleyway, at which point the killer charged with him at an axe, not sure where he got that from, and Mulavedzi shot him in the right leg, but Sitol kept coming. He tumbled over the officer and a struggle ensued. Sitol managed to bite the detective's thumb before Mulavedzi fired 2 close-range shots right through his stomach, ending the fight. It took 2 days in intensive care before the ABC killer was fit to be transferred to a military hospital, where he made a full recovery. I bet you weren't expecting that. Now, getting shot twice in the stomach? It's kind of amazing you survived. So far, much of the prophetic work of the profilers had turned out to be correct. Moses was a ladies' man in his early 30s, separated from his wife with a real hatred for the female sex, and he had decided to contact the media. And the bullseyes didn't stop there. One admittedly uncorroborated source reports that he
to the rock now.
Okay, I am as well.
Cool. I hear you jumping up.
Yep. Yeah, it was a PMC. I think we're good. I'm gonna.
The throne on the 15th of March. Elation swept the country, but the truth was that with so many competing factions with radically different political ideals, it was a pretty uneasy peace. Now, these factions include the Constitutional Democratic Party, a centre-left group composed of left-leaning intellectuals and professionals who favoured a form of Western constitutional monarchy, and this group forms the bulk of a provisional government put in place after the abdication of the Tsar. But 4 days before the provisional government had been named, a rival group, the Petrograd Soviets, was formed, and the two groups went on to compete for the heart of Mother Russia. The Petrograd Soviets, also known as the Bolsheviks, led by the enigmatic Vladimir Lenin, acted as the official opposition to the new government, and, well, things got pretty sour pretty quickly. Like the government before it, the provisional government proved fairly inept when confronting the Germans, and anger among the workers and peasant class rose. In October 1917, Russia once again descended into revolution, and new elections were held on the 25th of November 1917. Once it became clear that the Bolsheviks had little support outside the main industrial cities, and with just 25% of the vote, they dissolved the Constituent Assembly in January 1918, and the country descended into a 5-year civil war between the Soviet Red Army and a loose confederation of liberal and monarchist forces known as the White Army. An estimated 8 million Russians died during the chaotic civil war as the Red Army gradually inched its way across the country, and by 1922, the last holdout had been suppressed, and the country emerged from the war under the dominant rule of the Bolsheviks. On the 28th of December 1922, the Treaty of the Creation of the USSR was agreed at a conference attended by various socialist delegations, including the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, the Transcaucasian Socialist Federative Soviet Republic, the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic. Well, that's a massive mouthful, which was followed by the Declaration of the Creation of the USSR, which effectively formed the Soviet Union. So a large-scale reorganization of the economy had already began back in 1917, with one of its major aspects being the Gold Road Plan, which called for the entire country to be electrified over a 10 to 15-year period, and this can be considered the prototype for the subsequent Soviet 5-year plans. Now, look, today we got quite a bit to cover, so we're not going to go into detail of the 13 5-year plans, but if you're interested, we've done a video on the first plan in its entirety. It actually did do very well, so we did 12 plans, but hopefully at some point it'll pick up, and we've got a nice excuse to do those as well, because they're truly fascinating. Go show you support for that. Now, just before we get into the rest of the story of the Soviet Union and, I promise, eventually its collapse, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Magellan TV. Magellan TV is new to it's wild. Right now, you guys can get a 1-month free trial of Magellan by clicking the link in the description below. It's content for days and days, so let Magellan hook you up. You'll be glad you did, and let's get back to communism. Now, to try and cram 69 years worth of events into a single video would be pushing it, and after all, we're focusing here on the dissolution of the USSR, so we're just gonna barrel through quite a lot rather quickly here. The 1930s saw some brutal modernization tactics across the Soviet Union, resulting in plenty of death, but also in a new era of industry. During the Second World War, the country signed a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany, but then it was invaded by Nazi Germany and came within a hair's breadth of complete collapse. Finally, they shook themselves awake and stormed across the continent, finally raising the Soviet flag above the German Reichstag building in Berlin on the 2nd of May 1945. Any hope that its leader Joseph Stalin would pull his forces back to the pre-war borders quickly evaporated, and the Iron Curtain, which would divide Europe for the next 45 years or so, went up, and the Cold War quickly began. While many assumed that the Soviet Union had spread all the way to Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin, that wasn't actually quite the case. The countries that lay between the Berlin Wall and the official border of the USSR technically remained independent nations, and by independent we mean ruled by communist regimes, collared and firmly under the control of the Kremlin. In 1955, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, and Romania signed the Warsaw Pact along with the Soviet Union, a collective defense treaty aimed at countering NATO. The irony of the 45-year Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States was that they never actually fought each other, with the exception of air combat in the skies above Korea, when Soviet pilots were called in because of the lack of suitable Korean or Chinese alternatives. Also, during the Korean War, American jets attacked the Soviet Sakha-Rekha airfield in the Far East, mistaking it for a North Korean airfield. 7 Soviet jets were damaged on the ground, ironically all Bell P-63 King Cobra fighters given to the USSR by the United States during World War II. Apart from these small-scale incidents, the two superpowers never fully locked horns. There were several points where the world appeared to be on the brink of nuclear war between the two countries, but things were always de-escalated just in time. You probably knew that. The 1960s saw tensions reach their peak, particularly with the Cuban Missile Crisis between the 16th and the 26th of October, 1962. The 1970s and 80s saw relations begin to thaw, albeit incredibly slowly, with a series of arms treaties that began to give the world the impression that it might not in fact be incinerated within a massive nuclear mushroom cloud at any moment. It's difficult to pinpoint where the grand adventure in socialism began to unravel, but most will probably agree that by the mid-1960s, things were certainly beginning to flatten out in the USSR. An uprising in Czechoslovakia in 1968 was brutally put down, but the seeds of change were starting to emerge. But this was in contrast to official Soviet dogma between the 1960s and mid-1980s, where a series of leaders presided over a period that was famously coined the era of stagnation by Mikhail Gorbachev. Later. Before this period, Nikita Khrushchev had made tentative steps at distancing the Soviet Union from the more brutal practices seen during the time of Joseph Stalin, a process that came to be known as de-Stalinization. Predominantly, this involved trying to inch the Soviet Union away from the cult of personality that had painted Stalin as a loving father figure and heroic socialist wonder god instead of the tyrannical narcissist responsible for millions of deaths. He also attempted to close many of the gulags, the Soviet Union's prisons, and release many of the political prisoners inside. The hardline Soviets began to think that Khrushchev had gone soft and was eventually forced out and replaced by the dour Leonid Brezhnev, a man with far more traditional values. The new leader had early success in stabilizing an economy that had begun to seesaw, but also instigated a period of social. Perhaps the best example of this was the Sinyavsky Daniel trial in 1966, in which writers Andrei Sinyavsky and Yuli Ganyel were charged with anti-Soviet agitation and propaganda for publishing their satirical writings on Soviet life. Unusually for these Soviet Kangaroo Trials, both defendants pled not guilty, but were sentenced to 5 and 7 years hard labour for their troubles. This also led to the first public demonstration in the Soviet Union since World War II, known as the Glasnost Meeting, where 50 protesters gathered in Pushkin Square in Moscow on the 5th of December 1965. The KGB quickly broke up the protest, and several of the organisers were suddenly deemed insane and spent a month in a psychiatric facility. And we know that 50 protesters might sound microscopic, but this was the Soviet Union, and protests of this kind were absolutely unheard of. The Glasnost Meeting was not only an act of extraordinary bravery, it is widely seen as the first movement for civil rights in the Soviet Union. As I mentioned, Leonid Brezhnev saw early success with the economy, but it did not last. While it would be a stretch to say it began to decline, it certainly stagnated and was made all the starker by the astonishing economic growth seen in the United States. In fact, by the mid-1980s, the US economy had grown to twice the size of the Soviet Union's. Economic problems came down to factors that were influenced by the fact that prices were fixed by the central government, which could raise and lower them whenever it wanted. In theory, the system aimed to balance the total output of the economy with the total input, which, again, theoretically allowed for...
And this is the last one we can get out. You can check it.
Fucking bad scabs.
This rarely worked, not least because corruption was absolutely rampant throughout the Soviet Union.
It's in that bush.
An issue that Brezhnev was more than happy to turn a blind eye to. I wonder why. To exacerbate this problem further, during the 1980s, the Reagan administration in the United States managed to convince the Saudis to lower their oil prices.
Oh, it must have been already picked then.
Price of oil down and meant that the Soviets couldn't make a profit.
Looks like they looted all the stashes on the side of the map.
Depletion of the country's hard currency reserves. But also, the Soviet
You got enough shit to get out with, right?
Yeah. I think I'm full.
1989, which they not only didn't win, but it helped to drain their economic lifeblood even further. All of this led to general and widespread stagnation, and eventually decline of living standards across the Soviet Union. However, the USSR had absolutely no problem in spending exorbitant amounts of money trying to keep up with the Americans in the arms and space races. At this point, the USSR still had the second largest economy in the world, but it was beginning to creak alarmingly. When Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in 1985, he set about enacting a series of reforms that he hoped would stimulate a sluggish economy and promote greater openness within the Soviet Union. The last point came with the radical idea of allowing non-communists to run for office, a notion that would have been unheard of just a couple of years before. Gorbachev hoped that these kinds of reforms would kickstart a new era, the Soviet Union 2.0, if you will, but the roots of corruption, ineptitude, and just...
He must have made like over 100,000, didn't you, at least?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just a year into his term, the Soviet Union was rocked by a disaster that almost certainly sped up the demise of the USSR. On the 26th of April,
I can't believe that guy was lying in that bus.
A gaping hole in reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power station. Now this was bad enough, but the catastrophic response by Soviet authorities and the bungled cover-up lifted the curtain to reveal an astonishing level of Soviet incompetence and deception. The fact that the Soviet people were not informed of the disaster for 2 weeks showed its citizens that those at the top were willing to keep even the most atrocious disasters from them for the sake of preserving the already tattered image of the glorious Soviet Union. Public opinion in their Soviet leaders, which in truth had never been that high, began to tank. Throughout its lifetime, Soviet leaders had ranged from the psychopathic to the utterly inept, but thankfully for most involved, the man at the helm, when it really mattered, Mikhail Gorbachev, came across as level-headed and, dare I say it, a fairly decent Soviet leader. On the 25th of October 1989, Foreign Ministry spokesman Gennady Gerasimov said, "We now have the Frank Sinatra Doctrine. He has a song, I did it my way, so every country decides on its own which road to take." A little cryptic, I know, but essentially the Sinatra Doctrine signaled that Moscow would no longer interfere in the internal affairs of countries under the Soviet umbrella. And, well, that changed everything. With the smell of freedom in the air, change swept through Eastern Europe. The first to go was Poland, with 3 elections announced on the 4th of April after sustained protests across the country. Hungary was next, with huge protests on the country's national day, the 15th of March, forcing the government to begin negotiations over elections, which were concluded on the 18th of September. Also in Hungary, the first sections of the Iron Curtain began to come down as the country started removing its border barrier with Austria. In East Germany, the government was hanging on for dear life. Gorbachev visited in October 1989 to mark the 40th anniversary of the GDR, but also to urge reform on its leaders. Towards the end of the month, the number of protesters in Leipzig had swelled to over 300,000 as the screw tightened. In November 1989, the world watched transfixed as sections of the Berlin Wall came crashing down, and Germans began moving freely across a border that had not long before been one of the most well-protected and dangerous anywhere in the world. This was followed by the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia, which saw 800,000 people in Letna Square by the 25th of November, and 3 days later, the government announced it would relinquish power and dismantle the single-party state. In Romania, communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu was forced from power after the military revolted against his rule, and he and his wife were executed by firing squad on Christmas Day 1989 after a failed helicopter escape. And this wasn't just in Europe. Across the world, anti-socialist fury led to the toppling of governments or watering down of socialist ideology on every continent as the communist experiment began to implode. Unfortunately, we don't have anywhere near enough time to tell you about every revolution that took place during this period, but it was a truly historic few years. As seismic as the changes were in Eastern Europe, these only represented the puppet governments of nations that had fallen under the Warsaw Pact. The Soviet Union itself still remained intact and vehemently communist, but not for long. Nationalistic sentiment spurred on by the events in Eastern Europe meant that change had been set in motion. On the 1st of July 1991, the Warsaw Pact was officially dissolved and Soviet troops began withdrawing Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia and Armenia were the first to formally declare independence. But in a blind act of stubbornness, Soviet authorities denounced the declarations and even ordered Soviet troops into Lithuania.
anyone actually found any of that military corrugated cable in Raid yet?
Nah. I'm assuming it's a reserve only thing.
Maybe, yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time to pull that one. And which I don't like. I don't mind having low spawn rate, but I don't like that. And I could be wrong. It could be in the stashes. It just have a low spawn rate. But that's one thing I hope that I'm hoping is not in there, because I don't think that for height upgrades at the very least, I don't think that the game should force you to make you have to go to a different map other than like one map. But I have a suspicion that they only spawn on reserve, because there's some items like that where it's like, you go this map or you don't get it.
Haven't even scabbed in on reserve in a while. Did one a little earlier.
I'd like to see the other thing I'd like to see them add is everything that you need to upgrade your hideout, you should be able to make from your hideout, in my opinion. So like, once you get like a level 1 hideout basically, like of each thing, then everything you need for every preceding upgrade I think should be craftable.
Then that would defeat the purpose of a looter shooter game.
Not really.
Yeah, it would. Because I mean, they would make the progression go so much faster. It wouldn't be a longevity to the game.
Well, it already goes fast enough, there's no longevity to the game.
There is longevity to the game. Are you kidding me?
Fuck
I mean,
no.
it takes forever just to get the hideout even maxed.
No, it doesn't. It takes a month and a half, 2 months.
That's quite longevity in a game, especially a game like this where it resets every
6-7 months.
whatever months.
Yeah, 6-7 months. It doesn't help the longevity, not properly.
I mean, I guess you can see it like that, but that's not true.
Well, if the wipes every 6 to 7 months and it only takes a month and a half to 2 months to actually max out the hideout, that's 4 months with no longevity.
No, then you have to spend the rest of the time getting to level 62 to get Kappa.
Which only is only a longevity that like 5% of the player base are actually interested in.
Everybody who plays this game is interested in it, besides you, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I couldn't give a shit about Kappa.
Yeah, that's why I said besides you.
I willing to bet you ask most people, they don't actually give a shit about Kappa.
I haven't met a single person that said that about Kappa besides you.
The only ones I can think of that like would en masse actually give a shit about Kappa is anyone who has anything less than an EOD account. Because basically, it's just a grind fest. Which is a longevity in a way, but it's like the worst kind of longevity you can put in a game, because it's literally just a case of just grinding out XP. Which, if anything, would mean that you'd want the fucking hide upgrade to go quicker, because then more people would actually be able to get fucking Kappa.
Yo.
So. Hey, Chan.
Hey. Are you guys full?
Well, I'm in night rate. Well, night going in today at the minute. Where the fuck did you run the scav? Oh, I hear you, fucker. The fucker running away from me. Where the fuck's that? I can't tell if that was a PMC or a fucking scab running away from me. Game about to force me into other fucking maps. See. Oh no, that's a shoreline thing.
Server's back up.
Well,
They're always up.
They weren't earlier.
otherwise just getting in there's an absolute ball ache at the minute. Like I had to restart. Mine crashed 3 times just getting reload into the first raid I got into after I went through the fucking queue. Oh, they shushed. Dog shushed. Cheers, dude. Where the fuck are all the enemies? Oh. Oh, I heard you. Dum, dum, dum. Oh. Oh. Hey, 3 p.m. Scav kills, not so bad. And I got loot. You heard, Sean?
I'm here.
Oh, you get in yet? Are you still?
Yeah, I'm in.
Not so
You doing a
bad.
scav raid or what?
Yeah, I just finished a scan.
I'm going back in PMC. Well, actually, I see it if my scouts ready. Probably is, to be fair. But it usually takes me like 5 minutes to do a scout run.
I'm ready to do either.
One final belligerent stand in August 1991. An attempted coup led by hardline communists and high-ranking KGB officials began on the 18th of
See,
August.
what? Yeah, my scouts ready. Let's see if we can get it on this time. Ooh. Actual fucking kit on them.
Demanded the Soviet leader either declare a state of emergency or resign and name one of them as the provisional leader. Gorbachev refused outright, and the following day, military operations.
I'll come with you on Scavron.
I've seen it. Why can't. Oh! I don't know if that's a bug or that's intentional, but that's annoying.
Their immediate target was the White House.
You can't seem to sell weapons if they have a mag in them.
Well, it's the ammo.
Oh, sorry, yeah, if they have ammo in them. Even if the ammo is stuff you can sell on the fleet.
Yeah.
Because PST is definitely fleeable, but yet when it's in my fucking MP5 I've gotten raid, I can't sell the MP5.
That included the line, "We appeal to citizens of Russia to give a fitting rebuff to the putschists and demand a return of the country to normal constitutional development."
Where are we scavenging?
Clashes took place around.
Oh, you know where I'm... Ah, fuck. I don't mind. I can do customs or I can do lighthouse, because to be fair, there's good loot in both. I prefer customs, because I know customs, but...
Their leaders were later arrested, with one committing suicide before he could be taken into custody. The events had shocked the nation and added further impetus to the unraveling.
You need to learn Lighthouse, though.
The final 4 months of the Soviet Union saw a horrible change. Successive republics began
The
breaking
base of...
The final nail in the coffin came on the 1st of December 1991 when Ukraine, the largest...
At least debatable, I need to learn it yet. I still have loads of shit I can do on other maps. Because I still... I put it this way, I haven't even touched the single reserve task yet, so I still have like the fuel tanks. And then I'll have all the fucking armored vehicles and all that shit to do. Then all the food places underneath and... Yeah.
Well, I'm not fussed where we go, I'm just going to cause trouble anyway.
And that brings us to the end of the mammoth story of the rise and fall of the Soviet Union. An economic and military
Back with go lighthouse, I guess.
Country the world has ever seen.
See what we can find.
402,200 square
In the
kilometers,
list.
about 8.6 million square miles, and spanned 11 time zones. This was, of course, the largest ever experiment in communism, and it's fair to
Where do you
say
going,
that it
day or
didn't
night?
quite work.
07.
700.
I'd mind to switch my servers actually, because I've still got UK servers.
Oh, that's okay. My scav, I just ran my scav, so you guys go. I'll wait.
How about now?
Sort out my stash.
I'm in the lobby.
After 45 years,
See ya.
the suffocating Cold War, the world seemed to breathe a little easier, at least for the time being. The United States emerged as the sole global superpower, and the European Union...
Oh look, I'm a Zavodsky.
Countries to the east broke away from the yoke of Russian influence. In terms of dramatic...
Started getting optics on my guns now, which is quite nice.
I never see something quite like the end of the 1980s and the start of the 1990s ever again. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, smash that like button below. Welcome to another episode of Mega Projects. I am your host, Simon, and this video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is that all-in-one platform where you can build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Check out Squarespace through the link in the description below. That helps support the show. More on them in a bit. And today we're going to talk about the Maginot Line. There are some French pronunciations in this one. I have a pronunciation dictionary here. I'm going to try my best, but I'm not French. Could you tell? It was the equivalent of a giant protective wall to ward off any potential invaders, a surefire way to keep the enemy at the gates, or at least it was supposed to be. As it turns out, the Maginot Line has come to be a metaphor for expensive efforts that offer a false sense of security. The Maginot Line was a vast series of defensive structures built between 1929 and 1940 along France's eastern border. The purpose of this great defensive line, which stretched for 1,517 kilometers from the Alps to the English Channel, was very simply to keep the Germans out. But, as I will come to, the entire fiasco that was the French involvement in the early stages of World War II showed that no matter how mighty the fortress, there will always be a back door. Europe was a shell-shocked place in the aftermath of the largest war the world had ever known. 20 million people had died during the conflict, 1.7 million of them French, nearly 4.5% of the country's population. Germany had suffered similar numbers of casualties, and the hostility between the two neighbours continued to rumble on even after peace was signed. The Treaty of Versailles was meant to provide rehabilitation for Europe, but as we now know, it also provided plenty of angry ammunition for a certain mustachioed fellow who would lead Germany back to war just 20 years later. Now, the Treaty of Versailles may have been acceptable at the time, but with reparations totaling $33 billion, which doesn't sound too bad until you consider that that's nearly $500 billion today, and it was set to be paid until 1984. This was a crippling set of terms that enraged many in Germany. Things began to unravel as early as 1923, when Germany defaulted on a reparation payment for the first time. And this was not just someone not being very good at bookkeeping. Germany had already made their feelings about the treaty well known. France responded by sending troops into the Ruhr region of Germany to flex their muscles a bit and intimidate the Germans, who at this time were still operating under severe military limitations placed on them thanks to the same Treaty of Versailles. But make no mistake about it, Germany may not have been in a position to wage war with France at that point, but it was slowly rearming itself, in direct contradiction to the treaty, a fact that the French, well, they knew all too well. Okay, so with our luxury of hindsight here in the future, the whole situation now does look a bit like a car crash, just happening in slow motion. The British, they objected to the treatment of the Germans by the French, more out of colonial rivalry than genuine care, it must be said, which split the Allies at a time that, well, they should have probably stuck together. The French were in an awkward position. Though they had emerged victorious from the Great War, the reality was that their economy, industry, and indeed population paled in comparison to what lay just across the border. Much of the fighting in World War I had occurred on French soil, which just decimated northeastern parts of the country, but Germany, while they lost the war, they kinda remained relatively unscathed. Military leaders knew full well that World War I had been won because of the assistance of the British and the Americans, but with both now just stepping a little back from a commitment to defend France on the same scale again, another full frontal war really could see France quickly overrun. Now, by the end of the 1920s, the general consensus was that France, it would need to be ready to face Germany alone. There was considerable debate over how France could best defend itself. Modernists such as Charles de Gaulle preferred to focus on aircraft and armoured divisions rather than static line, which quickly drew comparisons to the dreaded trenches of World War I. The idea for a massive defence line was first proposed by Marshal Joseph Joffre, who had excelled as Commander-in-Chief during World War I, but it was André Maginot, France's Minister for War, who lobbied the government relentlessly to build the line, which finally began in 1929. Maginot didn't live to see the line constructed, and he died of typhoid fever in 1932. It was only after his death that he was awarded the posthumous honour of having the line named after him. Okay, so yes, the obvious reason for the Maginot Line was to keep invaders from the country, but the whole plan came with some very specific purposes. There was a huge population imbalance between France and Germany, which had been further aggravated by France's declining birth rate since the end of World War I. The French had a population of around 39 million, while over in Germany, it was more like 70 million. A strong defensive position was seen as key to saving manpower. The hellish images of thousands of soldiers marching into the jaws of death on the battlefield during World War I had highlighted the astonishingly high casualty rates that this new type of warfare could bring. Quite simply, France just couldn't afford to do that again. The French also believed that holding the Germans at the Maginot Line would provide some invaluable time to mobilize the entire French army, which was estimated to take between 2 and 3 weeks. It's doubtful the French ever thought the line would be entirely impregnable, but it would at least slow the Germans down. So the regions of Alsace and Lorraine had been returned to France under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, but they were always seen as vulnerable to German attack again due to their proximity to the border. This area was also home to significant manufacturing, and it became known as France's industrial basin. The Maginot Line, it'd be heavily fortified in this area in particular in order to prevent this vital zone from falling back into German hands. And finally, but most importantly, military planners hoped that by heavily reinforcing the line across the French-German border, it would encourage a circumvention by the Germans either through the mountainous terrain of Switzerland or through Belgium, which had entered into a military alliance with France. And, well, sitting in here in the future, we know exactly what happens. That is exactly what happens. The Maginot Line was built in several phases that began in 1929 and were carried out by the Service Technique du Génie, technical engineering service, and overseen by the Commission d'Organisation des Régions Fortifiées, or Commission of Fortified Regions. The vast majority of the Maginot Line was constructed by 1939 at a reported cost of 3.3 billion French francs, which would be roughly 1.2 trillion francs today. If francs existed, then they don't. So let's just do it in dollars, and that's about $204 billion today. Anyway, when World War II breaks out, the Maginot Line was one rough, continuous line, but it's easier to separate it into two. The main fortified section of the line ran from Switzerland along the German border to Luxembourg. The second part was a significantly lighter section running from the same spot all the way north to the English Channel. Now, this was very much a tale of two lines, the heavily fortified southern section and sort of the weak, wobbly, not very good northern section. The reason behind this dual line has really been debated ever since. The French may have assumed that a German invasion coming through Belgium would have significantly slowed down the attack, and that this attack would have drawn the British into the war. While the northern section was indeed much lighter than the south, it was still well defended though, and the French could have believed that it would have sufficed. Now, this wasn't a defense line like you might be thinking. We tend to have an idea of trenches like in the First World War, one line for the French and one for the Germans. But in reality, the Maginot Line was much more than this. Depending on what part of the line you were on, it could be anywhere from 20 to 25 kilometers deep. This area was composed of various fortifications and military facilities, including border guard posts, infantry shelters, barricades, communication centers, supply depots, machine gun and anti-tank gun emplacements, and of course, the mighty fortresses. It was basically this entire ecosystem that had been set up to protect France. Now, the size of it is unparalleled throughout history, except for the Great Wall of China, of course. In total, 1.5 million cubic meters of concrete and 150,000 tons of steel, which is enough to build 150 Eiffel Towers, by the way, we used to construct this vast protective line. Now, just before we really get into the line, I'm going to break down all of its component parts for you, really get into the details. I do want to take a quick moment to tell you about the fantastic
come on, load your bus.
to really make it possible, and that is Squarespace. Now, a couple of things. Maybe you've got an idea for a website or a business, podcast, something like that, knocking around in your mind, and you're like, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should pursue it. Well, the only way to find out whether it's worth pursuing is to get it out there into the world and see if people want it, and that should be done with a website on Squarespace. Squarespace allows you to create a powerful website for whatever you're up to. You want to sell something online? Yes, easy to set up a store with Squarespace. You want to do a podcast? Sure. Squarespace can handle that too. It all starts on Squarespace with a beautiful template that you can go and customize to your heart's content. Or you can just start from scratch, or you can move over from an existing domain and just have stuff on Squarespace where it's just easier to manage. But don't start from scratch. Just use a template. There's, like I say, remove those excuses to what you want to do. And once you've gone through the super easy customization process, there are no patches, there's no updates, there's no tech BS that you have to deal with. It's all super easy. And, well, just in case you do run into any... The Maginot Line began with the border post line, which included blockhouses. These were small houses that could be used by infantry, located directly on the border and normally with 360-degree views of their surroundings. There were 5,000 of these blockhouses along the line, and the role of those inside was to act as the first line of alarm in case of a surprise attack. Outpost and support point line. A further 5 kilometers behind the border, there was a line of anti-tank emplacements. These would have been required to hold up a mechanical advance the best it could, but in reality it was primarily to give the main point of defense more time to prepare. The principal line of resistance. This area, around 10 kilometers behind the border, would provide the sternest of resistance. In front of the line, there were anti-tank obstacles made up of large metal rails implanted vertically into the ground in groups of 6. There were also plenty of anti-infantry obstacles too, comprised of thousands of kilometers worth of barbed wire. If the enemy did make it through this, though, they would still face the hellish prospects of the fortresses and the casemates. Directly behind the principal line of resistance lay the first substantial infantry bunkers known as casemates, which would have been occupied by 20 to 30 men. These concrete bunkers often had 2 floors with a firing level at the top and...
Oh god, we're gonna have BMCs. Did you hear some audio?
Hmm.
I could have sworn I just heard someone's voice call, "Don't kill me, please."
Not mine.
Where by the wee village, the small, like, sunken one? Flooded one, the busted
Yeah,
one?
I'm just in there looting a building.
Okay.
Got a little moz in.
С утра выпил, день свободен.
One of you just voice come at me, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh. Big gun.
That is someone pissing off the rogues, and they just got GL'd. Well, someone tried to GL them. I do have a fucking scope though. I actually have a proper scope in this thing. Probably shite ammo, but... Do you know what, actually? It's a very much dead gun, but... Like, it's a really dead gun, but it's got PS ammo, 4 mags, and an actual fucking optic. Yeah, check this out. I'm gonna take up these mountains so you can see where this fucking rogue is.
Already pushed up to the base.
Is that them fighting you then?
No. I'm checking it out.
I'm trying to get up in the rocks behind, so I'm
I
trying to
can
find
see
the way
a
up here.
scout or something just down the road.
Oh,
Blue fence.
yeah, I'm behind the blue fence at the minute. I'm trying to get
Yeah,
up in the rocks, because I've got an actual fucking, like, magnified optic. Probably won't be able to hit anything with it, but...
I'm inside. Don't really know what I'm doing in here though, so I'm just gonna wander around until I get killed.
Don't do that. I'm just looking for the placements, because there's definitely some rogues on them.
Oh.
So I can
Not
figure
sure
out where
if I just heard footsteps on wood near me in these little shacks on the left back corner. It might be Zaki actually. Where are you, mate?
he's not here with us.
I'm not in the raid.
There's a rogue at the very back, the direction we came in from. Or not rogue, sorry, scav. Player, I think it's player scav. Or is
It
that...
could be me. No, I'm at the or the water treatment thing.
Yeah, but it's are you in like a wee red container?
I'm not in a container right now.
Okay, no, it's a different player scav then.
Yeah.
Maybe it was further right here. I'm not seeing any rogues up in the placements yet. Okay, that one's on top of the main one building, I think. By the sounds of it.
Is that
Yeah.
you shooting, Irish?
No, you'll hear it.
Oh!
Yeah, alright.
Fucking mines.
I'm trying to find these guys. They're definitely on the roof somewhere. Where's the GL emplacement?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm not on the roofs, I'm not seeing them yet.
Oh, someone's voice calling me. Down. Hello? Yeah, I'm a scab.
Does he know where the fucking GL is?
They're at the back wall somewhere.
I mean back wall.
The wall that you're along, there's a gate halfway and there's... I can't tell if they're PMCs or scouts. I think they're scouts.
I see some scab running along the road at the back.
That's me, that's me. So, close to the building that's between me and you.
Rogues, I see them. Just, you know where the helicopter is?
Yep.
There are 2 of them. Popping at them. 3 of them.
Is the helicopter like in the middle somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where I can cross this grass safely.
I'm dead. I got shot from the right hand side. Yeah, so where the helicopter is, there's like 3 rogues hanging about it. I don't even know if I got through their armor with them rounds.
Hear him shouting.
Yeah, it seemed like I did hit them a bit, but I've done 207 damage. I got 12 hits from 137 meters away with a half dead AK. But yeah, so there's, as best I could tell, Cat, that wall I was underneath.
Ah!
Jesus.
Fucking Irish!
Sorry, man.
I got 2.
I was trying to direct you to where they were.
His name was Mike.
Oh god. Yeah, this is why I don't fuck with rogues usually.
That's my first time ever seeing one alive.
Yeah, I don't even know I was actually trying to fuck them there was purely because I had an optic. And to be fair, I got some hits in despite my.
I think they threw a grenade up at you as well.
Oh no, it was literally there was so the wall that was directly below me that we entered on.
Yeah.
I think one
That's
of
where
them
those
spawned on
two
the
players
roof
were.
or something because I got shot from the right hand side because I'd already backed off from the dudes at the helicopter shooting at me. So I got shot from the right hand side somewhere along that back wall by another rogue.
They were fun.
Yeah. I'm just surprised I managed to get that many hits in though. That's not half bad. It was like 40 out of 100 that AK did. Like it was proper dead on its fucking feet. Okay, sell some shit. Do we have a night run? Yeah, if I sell shit quick, I can go at night. Who's willing to brave the shit show of a customs night run?
I'll go.
Do I need to change servers depending who's coming actually? Cause
I gotta plant the gold chains in the dorms.
I guess I have to do that actually. I might fucking bring 3 along. If I have 3, can't remember if I even have 3 to bring along at the moment.
I gotta kill scavs at the Christmas tree.
At the Christmas tree?
Yeah, it's one of the
What do you get
one
for
of
it?
the holiday quests.
I must actually suicide myself in the tree at Lighthouse and fucking Reserve actually, so we're gonna get something tossed out the way.
Yeah, it's like after you visit the Christmas trees and hand over the balls that they want. It's
The
like one of the
hats?
next ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the hats in all hand over, just haven't got the thing.
They start getting ridiculous. One's like wear a Santa hat and kill 10 bears.
Yeah. That's why I haven't really bought. I don't know if I'm gonna bother them, like, cause it just doesn't seem like they're really worth the fucking hassle, to be honest.
Yeah, the payout's pretty good XP wise, but it's definitely a fucking ass pain.
Yeah, but like you'd grind out the XP eventually anyway, so.
Or going at night.
Okay, got me.
Are you guys rocking NVGs or are you gonna just go with flashlights?
NVGs.
Yeah.
Oh, Tabernouche, okay.
You don't have to bring them if you don't want to, like.
No, I'm down. Fuck it. Whatever.
I have a spare one knocking about in my stash somewhere. Where the fuck my... Is it that one? No. That one? No. Where did I put that spur MVG? I thought I had spur MVG now about. Oh, okay. Yes, Peacekeeper. I need. Not this. DD mount. Do you know, love? Peacekeeper sells you the mount for the monocle and the attachment for the head, but he doesn't actually sell you the fucking monocle night viz. Like, why? It's the dumbest way of splitting it up I've ever seen. What's my dailies? Lighthouse limit scabs with a leg or leg shot from more than 35 meters. Might go off that. Bring a cheap rifle in and go and do some looting with the PMC. Survive factory twice. Okay, that's a shotgun run. And Jaeger, what have you got for me? Corrugate hose, 2 of them. We'll find that without too much issue. And my weekly is still kill a killer 10 times. No, no, fuck no.
I'm in lobby, 2200.
I got my gold chains, got my keys, got my meds.
You inviting Cat?
And do.
Shoot me that fat invite. There you go.
A little bit.
And a support level below where soldiers could eat and sleep. In total, there were 352 of these.
I'm going to lobby as well.
Interestingly, these bunkers were built with 12 feet concrete walls in the front, but relatively weaker walls in the rear, so counter-attacking French forces would be able to easily take them. That's pretty smart.
What do you say it was night customs?
Yeah,
These small
2237.
fortresses, which numbered nearly 100, were
Zaki's in
connected
lobby.
to a group of casemates with underground tunnels and housed further support facilities such as mess halls, infirmaries, and supply depots. Gros ouvrage. By far the most important element on the line were
not
the
get
47
happy,
large
boys.
fortresses.
Wait a
These
second,
were
wait a second, I
massive
gotta-
structures that often contained their own power stations, ventilation systems, and even a connection to a small narrow
Is the
gauge
monocle
electric
cheaper,
railway
better?
system to move between the bunkers and bring in
Better.
supplies. There were normally 6 combat blocks sat further forward from the main fortress with underground tunnels
sells the
connecting the whole
monocle?
system.
Skier.
Around 500 to 1,000 men would have been stationed
At what
in the
level?
Gros ouvrage,
Don't know.
which were
Alright,
15
I'm ready.
kilometers apart, with the
I should've changed
casemates
my
and
optic.
petit ouvrage between them. Telephone network. While battlefield radios had begun to be used during World War I, the quickest way to get information off the battlefield was still by telephone. And if your country is being invaded, you're probably gonna want to stay in touch. This vast telephone network connected every bunker, every fortress, and every observation post on the line. These 78 observation posts were often situated in the hills surrounding the line and served the dual purpose of both reporting on the fighting and calling in artillery support, which was located further back. Between 500 and 1,000 meters behind the principal line of resistance came the infantry reserve shelters, each occupied by a company of soldiers, which is 200 to 250 men. While the word reserve might make you think that these troops would be held back, in fact, these reserve shelters were designed in such a way that occupants would be able to hold out for prolonged periods while under attack, and were very much the second significant line of defense. They came with water supplies, kitchens, and electric generators, and would also be used as a staging point for any possible counterattack. Flood zones. The planned defense of the Maginot Line would not only come in a military sense. Specific areas, usually natural basins or rivers, could be flooded by the French forces to act as additional barriers for the invaders. This was normally done by constructing dams and levees on certain sections of rivers that could be opened and closed at short notice. Safety quarters. In total, there would have been about 500,000 military personnel situated along the line, and many more would have been based in the safety quarters. While the most forward points would always be manned, the fortresses would only be filled in the event of an attack or expected attack. Many of the soldiers would
Nav
be primarily
and
based in the
Sean,
safety
stick to
quarters,
me.
just a short
AK,
train ride
stick
from
to
the
Cat.
fortress. Housed close to the safety quarters, the supply and ammunition dumps would have kept the entire
Roger.
line supplied, and their proximity to the railway system means that supplies could be rapidly dispatched. narrow gauge
can go
railway
push and
system.
play
A
as shit in
network of
8K.
600mm narrow gauge railways transported the
I
supplies
said we're gonna go
around the
push and play
battlefield
as
using
shit in.
petrol engines and
I hope
armored
so.
locomotives. They were mainly used to move back and forth between the fortresses and the supply depots, which could be up to 50 kilometers apart. High voltage transmission lines. While all of the fortresses had their own power supply, they were all still connected to the civil power grid. These transmission lines initially
many,
ran above
we have?
grounds, but
4
before
or
the
5?
fighting commenced, it was
Five.
decided that they would be buried instead to reduce the risk of damage, which sounds like a perfectly sensible idea. Much has been said about the Maginot Line over the last 80 years and its role in the collapse of France during World War II. But as the war neared, there was a confidence about the Maginot Line which may have even bordered on the delusional. Newsreel footage of the mighty fortresses was beamed into cinemas, and it's fair to say that the Maginot became the pride of France. Even Winston Churchill famously
So we start. Okay. AK, Cat straight across the bridge. Nav, Chan on me, we're gonna flank right. We're just gonna keep a wee eye. Probably won't see anyone down here, but given that we're such a big squad. Okay. You take trash bricks, Cat.
We took main.
Okay, that's alright, that's alright. Get set up on the other side. We're just gonna keep an eye on this right side real quick for a minute or two. Right, Nav, head up top. Chan, on me. We'll stay low. Go quiet, Nav.
Okay, running on the right.
That's probably us. Keep an eye though. Right, Nav,
You
go.
crossed, did you?
Yeah, yeah. Get up around the guards, Nav, and
Not-
move quiet because
not-
we might have.
Not sure where you went.
Come back to you. Careful up there, Nav. We might have a meth lab spawn. Here, John.
Alright.
Right, go quiet, go quiet, go quiet.
I
Yeah,
got
running down the
disconnected.
road.
Oh shit. I'll try
Yeah.
guard as best I can. You hearing any movement up there enough?
Nope, I just crossed the road. Now I'm in the bush across the road.
Okay. I'm seeing that we get a spawn on our side somewhere. Or a mass spawn, don't worry. Stash, stash. I think I might be able to get him. Got him. Dumbass.
I'm the only one up here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Where the fuck did he roll to? There he is. 11-19, he was going for the stash, I fucking fried him.
We're just coming down towards our UAF along the road now.
Okay, stay along the back, you'll be passing Nav in a sec, he's hitting the bush to your right, I believe. We're gonna go to dorms though, man.
Yep.
The only reason I came here was just, I was just making sure that these spawns, that this meth and the thing didn't come up our arse. You're back in, Saki?
Yeah, I just got back in.
Okay.
Are you at the stash?
The one up ahead, yeah. Is that you moving?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't go loud,
See
don't
you.
go loud. Yeah, try not to go loud, dude. Let's start heading towards dorms. Me and Sack are coming up.
Alright, I'm along.
next to the scale in front of you, Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's me, ours.
yeah, let's back the dorms now to get this task out of the way. Get the chains planted. Okay. We'll go wide.
fighting in Skell.
Right, you stick in the corner, Cat. We'll go to the small hole up a bit. See, can we? Oh, out front, the Skell.
You're firing at us, I think?
Oh. He's in front of
Yeah.
Skell at the wall.
Yeah,
That's
I
us,
think
that's
so.
us,
Nice
that's us.
friendly.
Okay. I didn't realize you just pushed up so far.
That could have went bad. My finger was right on that trigger after Irish started firing.
Somebody is in
Scalvins.
scale though.
Yeah,
Scalvins.
I just pushed through the wall.
Who was I spraying there then? Was it you who was spraying, Cat?
AK.
Yeah, what's up?
He was asking who he was shooting at.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah,
No,
it was me. I didn't realize that was one of you guys. I didn't think yours was far.
his
No,
hollow doesn't work.
Zach, you lost connection again.
What is with your fucking ping, Zach?
I don't know. Maybe we forgot to switch servers.
I think.
I'm pretty good ping, but it's like 120, still in the yellow, but
Oh,
Are we on
playable, I
East
guess.
Coast?
Yeah, Cat has East Coast picked.
It must be
where,
'cause
It'll be East Coast, UK, and East Coast, London, and France.
Yeah, I can't do London, France.
Yeah, I forgot.
That's all good, man.
Alright, where is everybody right now?
I'm
Yes.
in Skell at the moment, seeing if I can find
Okay, so I think me
little
and
Skell.
Nav are in the ditch in front of the small scale on the other side of the wall, and Saki is we're to your right. Whoever just came out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
Saki.
was,
Who's this
I was
right
right
here?
behind you when you engaged on the friendlies.
Alright, so we're all here then.
Okay,
That's Dorm's
I'm
kicking
coming
off
back
a
out
bit.
now.
You reconnected, Zach, or are
Yeah,
you
me running.
still?
I'm working on it.
Hello.
hey, who's right beside me? Who's
Me.
that?
Alright, that's what now. I hide in the bush here, sort my dogs out real quick. Again, Cap, if you just want to start moving up and
Yeah.
get
Zaki's
secure
back in.
outside of thing. Don't win yet. Just get secure outside, and then we'll organize an attack plan.
Thinking Scab Boss is here.
Oh,
Zaki's back, Irish.
Oh. In a bit, yep. Dog, get away from the fucking food bin. Get.
Make it slow, come up with dorms, there's grenades and shit going off over here.
Go. Bloody dogs. Right. I'm back.
Make it slow when you come up with dorms. There's
'Kay.
grenades and shit going off here. We're behind 3-story right now.
Okay. We'll move up to the left then by fire escape. On me, guys.
Second story door is open on ice cream side. Same with first floor.
Okay. I'd say quite relatively quiet here, guys. Relatively slow, because we might have people in the woods here.
We're in the woods behind 3-story.
By ice cream or directly behind it?
my ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, you hold that position. We're going to go left towards the vehicle extract side.
Smoke them out.
Right, vehicle is here. Right, guys, go low and quiet now. We're close enough that they'll start hearing us if we go loud. Alright, I fall creep once we get this close to the building. Have you heard any movement inside, or?
I haven't heard
No.
anything yet.
Okay, I'm gonna fall creep up the fire escape, the second floor, if one of you wants to do the same on the other side. Nav and Chan, stay hidden down here.
On my way.
Copy.
I'm creeping up right now. Yeah.
Zach, you got disconnected again?
Guard sack there,
Mm.
Nav.
Got any cash in your...
I can give him some for the vehicle extract. Right, is
I
that
have
you?
some.
Comms. Did you move in yet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah,
the
at
other
the
side.
other end.
Fuck, I told you to get in position. Right, I'm coming through the other side now. Coming through the other side. I see it.
Yep, I'm on. Yep.
That body. Okay, we got one. Oh, I'm dead.
Jesus.
Yep. Someone must
Where
be.
was he?
He must be prone in that body in the middle of the hallway or something.
I'm dead. I'm dead too. He shot me through the door, prone. I didn't move. I'm assuming he's cheating.
Alright, I don't want any of that.
Yeah, his name is BB _
Dax.
sad white namer. He's definitely cheating.
Yeah, no, that is dodgy. Really fucking dodgy.
Well, how did he just flick around and get you at the same time? That's I'm out of here. I'm not gonna fuck with that.
Because
That's
he's just fucking cheating. That's why.
that's a hacker of some kind.
I'm just fucking bailing. I got really good gear on. I don't want to lose it.
Which way are you going, Nav?
Oh shit! I forgot about you.
It's all good.
I'm
just
heading
let me know
towards
where you're
the.
going.
I'm past Storms.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm,
definitely a hacker. He hit PP fucking ammo for God's sake.
I'm going to ZB.
Copy.
On my way.
Factory far corner, actually. Shit, I forgot about you guys. I thought you guys were dead too for some reason.
I'm pulling back towards that bush near Skeleton, and then I'm gonna go through that side.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a hacker.
I know it was because he shot me through the goddamn fucking wall. He never seen me.
That he was using PP ammo. Like PP ammo is something that in that caliber, and no, not even new players use it because new players will like watch guides and shit, and no guide's gonna recommend you using
Bro,
that shit.
bro, that was legitimately he didn't even hide it. Like I was behind all the shit in the wall. on the other
Running
side
by
of
the wall.
I think that was me.
Cool. I'm just behind you then.
Alright, I'll wait for you.
Can I get an update on where you guys are at?
We're at the wall just over behind New Gas.
Oh, I got eyes on you.
Copy. I DC'd again. I was over by the bunkhouse,
Bunkhouse.
like the top of the road, going to dorms.
Oh shit, that's a real bad spot. We're like
Looping.
I think it's
yeah, what's it called? Substation.
Right, time for a quick scavvy scav. Send signs up. Sell some shit. God damn it. Again, like the thing is, like, again, it doesn't actually annoy me getting killed by hackers like that. It just confuses me. I just, you know.
Oh well, that's what people have to do to have fun, man. Fucking whatever.
That's the thing that will confuse me because I don't see how it's fun. And as far as it being like the real money he's spending, like, there's easier ways. Like if you have hacks on in Tarkov, you can literally just avoid even the risk of having to take a fight if you have the hacks on, and still get just as much loot out. I don't know.
People were just scumbags.
Unless
Oh,
he
yeah.
was the guy seen in the middle of the fucking hallway, I thought it was a body.
Maybe the body was him. Yeah.
Maybe.
Or he probably killed somebody else there. That's why we heard that shit going on in there.
But yeah, I probably would have moved in and the other. Who was it? The other guy that said that he shot him through the wall.
Hey, what now?
Oh, you said he shot you through the fucking door or wall. Or...
Yeah, so that's what kind of made me not want to go in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean he's 100% hacking, dude. There's no way. Like he was on the other end of the hall. I was inside of a fucking room, and he fucking stoned me through the fucking entire 3rd floor through the wall.
Yeah, it's
That's super sus.
Super
Did you guys remember
boring.
to report him?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm at a scav checkpoint. Fire.
Alright, I'm just in the factory area.
Oh,
Just giving them a quick check over it.
I will never understand the appeal of it, other than real money trading. But I feel like
There's a scav somewhere near you, Zach.
it's horrendously inefficient to go after players for real money trading.
I'm by old gas station on the rail line. I DC'd again.
What do I need for that height upgrade? I need to get my generator level 3, so I need shit of power supplies, motors, spark plugs, relays, and everything else can be sold for now. I need to keep my power cord because I need that for a fucking upgrade. I need the power gauges. No, I still need all this shit. Well, actually, I don't need these things anymore. Sell them.
Almost at factory far corner.
Our exit.
Yeah. I'm extracting. Or do you want me to wait for you?
No, it's alright.
Buying a few minutes. Missing needs me to do a wee quick thing here.
Is that Irish?
Where did I put that? There's the motor I fucking needed. Don't need that. 27.5, that'll go for. Look, you've just been fed. Stop staring at me.